All right, guys. So now we're back. We're going to look at the second page here. All right. And so now what you're going to look at is how to get this page completed. Once again, we have all the options down here at the bottom. Use your word bank. Use it. This is straightforward. I'm going to go in a little bit more detail on this video than the last one about what each of these things mean, just so you guys do have an idea. Once again, we're going to find ourselves back in InDesign. All right. And so if you left right here on the last one, what we're going to look for all we're going to do here, we're going to go over here at the top left-hand corner. If you follow the cursor, you're going to click File, you're going to click New, and you can just click Document. That's fine, okay? And now what you're going to notice is that this picture right here, preset details, all right, is going to be what you see right here where my cursor is going over now. So now let's go through each of these. All right, so your first blank you're going to look at is pretty obvious. It's right beside it. It is your width and height. All right, now before we dive into width and height, let's actually look at our units. So if you click on the down arrow here, you're going to see that you have a great variety of units you can look at, right? You got points, picas, inches, millimeters, centimeters, all right, pixels. All right, if we're referring to things on the internet coming through, because most of this is going to be digital publishing, we may use pixels. However, for most of us, it's probably going to make a lot more sense if we just stick to inches. It's something that we're used to. All right, so when we had this preset, all right, it comes in that default 8.5 by 11. All right, so as we go through, so your first one here, we got obviously, this is your file name. So however you want to name that, that is your first slot there on the right. Then we come down and you see units. And then you have with that, if you look to the left side, your first things are going to be width and the height. All right. And remember, these things can be lowered and upward as needed. All right. Or you can go to different presets and get different things. All right. The next thing we're going to look at as we work our way down is orientation. All right. The orientation here. Now, remember, you've got two main different types of orientation. They sometimes are called different names. You got portrait, which is upright, like if you look at your yearbook picture, all right, they're always going to be upright. Or, as you got here, you've got landscape, all right, because this is often how you would see if a picture is taken of a landscape. It's going to be long, drawn out, all right. So you could say vertical, horizontal, portrait, landscape, however you want to do it. Either way, it is the orientation. That's what it refers to. All right, the next thing we got here, we got the number of pages, however many pages you guys are going to have. All right, and then you have this option that says facing pages. So what you want to do, and this is going to depend on what you're doing, all right, is if you have something like this, okay? So you got this example. As you can see, facing pages literally is exactly what it sounds like. If you look at this magazine example, these pages, all right, they need to line up with one another. They are facing one another. That is what it refers to as facing pages. Or even as we go on, you can see here's another example. Some of these facing pages, you can see like this. You want to make sure with the facing pages that the orientation or the alignment goes from side to side. So you can see how the text is aligned there across the top. That is why you would want to check facing pages. If you have multiple things that are going to be facing each other, you want to refer to that. Okay, let's keep rolling down. So the next thing you're going to see, you do have this. So this refers to if you have multiple pages. Obviously, we're going to start on page number 1. But as we roll down, let's look at the margins. All right, margins are going to be the edge around that page there. So if I were to look here, all right, for this page, right, you don't have the text starting all the way on the end, right? It starts, you can see it's probably got like a 3/4 inch, half-inch margin there, as well as the text doesn't run into the binding there, right? So you want to make sure that's what the margins are for, is just kind of give you that room. And we'll talk about bleed and slug because that's what the whole purpose of that is as well. All right, so margin gives you that and it makes sure everything's lined up starting in the same place. All right, so that's what you got for margins. All right, and then I skipped one. Sorry, we got column and column gutter, all right, or the gutter size. So that refers to, once again, going back. So in this case, you got two main, this one's not probably the best, but you got two main columns of text. Well, in this middle here, you're going to notice that there is that space in between it because it doesn't go all the way across. It was more visually pleasing to add two columns there, all right. And so what it is there, that's a use of white space, all right. That is called a column or a gutter, all right? And so what that column gutter there, where you look at it, you see it is in inches, right? That refers to that space, how big that space is there, all right, when you have space between those columns of text. All right, moving down, we've already talked about margins, so let's go on to our next one. All right, and then we have what you have here, and that is bleed and slug. All right, bleed and slug, very similar to margins. Um, so what happens is when went back to the top. What happens is when these pages are printed, they're stuck together, right? So you got this book, and there's going to be pages sticking up as if they're sticking out. It's not even, it's not perfect. And what actually happens is once all the pages are lined up together, they're slapped to the side, and they may not be perfect, right? And then glue's added, a binding, this outside page is applied, and then this thing goes and it gets chopped. All right, they square it off, and that's how we get our nice crisp top, sides, bottoms, everything like that. However, that's why the bleed and slug is to help to make sure as you go from one page to another, there's more chance that these texts are going to line up throughout it. All right, it's to kind of help and apply for that cutting, because what's going to happen is when it's cut, you're going to lose a part of that, and so that's what that area is for. All right, it is used when it is becoming a actual printed product. Okay, now anytime you see this link, all right, just like chain link, if you got one end of a chain link and I got the other end, it's going to pull equally. All right, we're both going to pull link together. If you change one thing, the other side is going to feel that pull, feel that change as well. So if something is linked, you see this, all right, that means all settings are going to be the same as you change it. All right, and then the last space you have there at the bottom is the create button there. All right, and that is once you say, so let's just say I wanted to create an envelope, and I'm going to fix this here. I'm going to create an envelope, and I'm going to say it is 9¼ inches wide and 4¼ inches tall. Obviously, I don't want vertical. I want to make sure I've got that. That is what I'd be looking at. And then I would simply click create. And as you can see here, if I zoom out a little bit, there is that envelope shape, and there it is. All right. Make sure you fill that out, and I'll see you on the next video.